Imagine you are standing on the trading floor of the London Stock Exchange in 1945. The war is over, Europe is in ruins, but Britain stands victorious. Marble pillars rise around you, carved with the names of colonial territories stretching across Africa, Asia, and the Middle East. Men in dark suits and bowler hats shout orders across the floor. The Union Jack hangs overhead, unmoving, unquestioned. Around you flows the global financial system. Every major trade settlement, every international loan, every commodity transaction, wheat, oil, copper, gold, is denominated in British pound sterling. You are standing at the heart of the world's money. Britain controls nearly a quarter of the Earth's landmass. Its navy dominates the seas. Its banks dictate global credit. The pound is not just a currency. It is the foundation of international commerce. If you tapped a British banker on the shoulder that day and told him that in just 11 years Britain would lose its empire, its financial dominance, and its global authority, he would think you were deranged. Britain just defeated Nazi Germany. Britain still has the Royal Navy. Britain still runs the world's financial system. The pound is backed by the Bank of England, the most powerful financial institution on earth. The system feels permanent, too big to fail. Now, step forward in time. Stand on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange today. Digital tickers flash non-stop. Trillions of dollars move invisibly through fiber optic cables. Every barrel of oil, every sovereign bond, every central bank reserve is priced in US dollars. The United States maintains hundreds of military bases across dozens of countries. Its navy patrols every major shipping lane. Its currency sits at the center of global trade. If someone told you that by 2027, the dollar would lose its dominant status and America's era of global financial supremacy would effectively end, your reaction would be identical to that British banker's in 1945. Impossible. America is too powerful. The dollar is backed by the US military. The system is permanent. But history does not care about confidence. It cares about structure. History is not random. It is not chaos. It is pattern. And when reserve currencies fail, they do not fail because of ideology, politics, or bad leadership. They fail because of math, debt, incentives, and time. The same mechanism that destroyed British financial dominance after World War II is operating again today. Not similarly, not approximately, identically. And here is the most uncomfortable truth. We are not at the beginning of this cycle. We are deep into it. Britain's breaking point arrived in 1956, just 11 years after the war ended. And when it arrived, it came suddenly, violently, and irreversibly. The illusion held right up until it didn't. To understand where the United States is heading, we first have to understand how Britain fell. Britain did not always dominate global finance. In the early 1800s, multiple currencies competed for international trade. The Dutch guilder, the French franc, the Spanish peso. No single system controlled the world. What changed was gold. Britain's empire funneled vast quantities of gold into London, India, Africa, Australia. Colonial extraction created monetary gravity. Britain leveraged that advantage in a way no empire had before. In 1821, Britain formally adopted the gold standard. The pound became directly convertible into a fixed amount of gold. This was not a political promise. It was a contractual obligation. If you held a pound note, you could walk into the Bank of England and exchange it for physical gold on demand. That credibility transformed global trade. Merchants from New York to Shanghai wanted to be paid in pounds. Pounds were as good as gold and more efficient. They could be transmitted instantly across ledgers, while gold had to be shipped. Trust followed convenience. By the late 1800s, the pound had become the world's unit of account. Most international trade was settled in sterling. British government debt was treated as risk-free. Holding pounds was considered safer than holding gold itself. This created an extraordinary privilege. Because the world needed pounds, Britain could borrow cheaply. It could import more than it exported. It could run permanent trade deficits without consequence. Britain exported paper and imported real goods. This is the reserve currency advantage. But every reserve currency contains the seeds of its own destruction. Then came World War I. The war shattered Britain's financial foundation. The cost was staggering. Debt exploded. Gold reserves drained. To survive, Britain suspended gold convertibility. For the first time in a century, the pound became a fiat currency. The suspension was described as temporary. It never is. After the war, Britain faced a dilemma. Returning to gold at the old rate would bankrupt the country overnight, so the pound remained unbacked. Trust replaced metal. By the mid-1920s, Britain attempted to restore the gold standard. The move failed catastrophically. The pound was overvalued, British exports became uncompetitive, the economy stagnated. While Britain struggled, America surged. Then came World War II. By 1945, Britain was financially exhausted. Debt reached unprecedented levels. Gold reserves were depleted. Britain had gone from the world's largest creditor to one of its largest debtors. By any honest accounting, Britain was bankrupt. And yet, the pound remained the world's reserve currency. Global trade still required it. This is where inertia becomes lethal. Reserve currency systems do not collapse when fundamentals break. They collapse when confidence breaks, and confidence lags reality. For 11 years after the war, Britain survived not because it was strong, but because the world had no alternative. Everyone was trapped in the sterling system, and during those 11 years, Britain made its fatal decision. Unable to cut spending, politically unable to impose austerity, unwilling to accept decline, Britain printed money. The money supply expanded dramatically. Production did not. Inflation followed. Foreign governments holding pounds noticed something alarming. Their reserves were losing purchasing power. They began asking a simple question. Why are we holding this currency? Britain now faced a choice. Defend the pound with painful reforms and economic contraction, or keep printing and hope confidence held. Britain chose the easy path. Then came 1956. The Suez Crisis was not merely a geopolitical event. It was a financial exposure event. When Britain attempted to assert control over the Suez Canal, the United States applied financial pressure. The U.S. Treasury sold pounds. Gold drained from Britain's reserves at an alarming rate. Within days, the illusion collapsed. Britain faced monetary failure. It was forced to beg for international assistance. The price was humiliation and withdrawal. The empire was finished. And more importantly, the pound's credibility was finished. From that moment on, global finance shifted toward the dollar. Slowly at first, then decisively. The fall did not happen in a single day, but the break happened in 1956. Now, turn the mirror toward the United States. America emerged from World War II as the dominant power. It constructed a new monetary system. The dollar became convertible to gold. Other currencies pegged to it. The dollar replaced the pound. The same privileges followed: cheap borrowing, persistent deficits, financial expansion untethered from production. And just like Britain, America eventually abused that privilege. War spending, entitlement expansion, debt accumulation. Gold began flowing out. In 1971, the United States closed the gold window. The dollar became a pure fiat currency. This was America's 1914 moment. Once again, inertia masked the damage. With no alternative ready, the world remained locked into dollars. And America made the same mistake Britain made. It printed. After 2008, monetary expansion accelerated. After 2020, it exploded. Trillions created in years. Production lagged. Inflation followed. Foreign holders noticed. They began asking the same question Britain's creditors once asked. Why are we holding this currency? And they began to act. Trade diversification, reserve reduction, alternative settlement systems. None of this happens loudly. It happens quietly, then suddenly. This brings us to 2027. Why does this year matter? Because it represents convergence. Debt refinancing at higher rates, exploding interest costs, structural entitlement strain, declining dollar usage crossing critical thresholds. 1956 did not end Britain. It ended the illusion. That is what 2027 represents. The trigger may vary: a failed auction, a market freeze, a trade announcement. The mechanism is already in motion, and once the break occurs, decline accelerates. Not collapse in a day, but erosion over decades. Falling reserve share, rising import costs, lower living standards, impossible policy choices. Britain did not disappear after losing reserve status. It declined, quietly, permanently. That is the pattern. The system looks stable until it doesn't. That is how reserve currencies always end. The debt cannot be repaid in real terms. The money has already been printed. The cycle cannot be reversed. The only remaining variable is awareness. History does not shout warnings. It whispers through repetition. Britain believed its system was eternal. America believes the same. They are both wrong. 2027 is not the end of the world. It is the moment the illusion breaks. The moment decline becomes unavoidable. The moment history repeats, exactly as it always has. Subscribe for more.